Comrade Lou Dalibelo, a member of the National High Command, and thank you very much to members of the media, to members of the National High Command, the leadership of MK Women and Youth League, the leadership of provinces. I see the convener of Gauteng, Commander Witness Nyambe is here, and the other conveners of provinces, as resolved by the National High Command officials. I'm going to read a statement on behalf of the national officials of Mkhonto Wesizwe, and the statement will outline some of the key decisions that have been taken in relation to the leadership question, but also in relation to some of the political developments that they are obtaining here in South Africa. So the statement is going to read as follows. We're going to circulate the copies later on. That the national officials of Mkhonto Wesizwe held the second meeting of the year 2025 on Wednesday, the 19th of February 2025. The national officials of Mkhonto Wesizwe are a constitutional structure with decision-making powers in between meetings of the National High Command. The national officials took important decisions for the organization, affecting the MK mother body, the leagues, fraternal organizations, and public representatives. We also received a report from the National Disciplinary Committee, which recommended sentences against members who violated the constitution of Mkhonto Wesizwe. Mkhonto Wesizwe national officials took note of the fact that we're in a period of continued political and ideological confusion that characterizes the current so-called government of national unity. The irreconcilable differences displayed by members of the GNU during the 2025 State of Nation Address debate demonstrate the obvious fact that there is no unity and there is no possibility of unity amongst the GNU partners. Different ministers and deputy ministers attack each other and delegitimize each other and speak about government as if it is not one entity, but different competing constituencies with contradictory messages. The collapse of the country's budget process and the postponement of the budget last week is just an illustration that the GNU does not have a common program on how to efficiently and responsibly run the affairs of the state. The MK is aware that part of the revenue proposals for 2025 was a proposal to increase the value-added tax, which is VAT, by 2% to 17%. We as Mkhonto Wesizwe reject and are totally opposed to the increase of value-added tax because it is primarily the poor people who will suffer from this senseless increase of value-added tax. There are multiple revenue sources which the state should look into instead of taxing the already struggling poor masses of our people. A reasonable government and responsible government should have mechanisms to broaden the tax base. Government should purposefully pursue matters that relate to tax base erosion and transfer prices. We should also look into how we arrest revenue leakages in municipalities and different spheres of government. The most dependable mechanism for revenue enhancement and development of society is to grow the economy or to develop the productive forces. And we currently know that there is no vision and plan in South Africa to grow the economy. The economy cannot and will not grow if there is no reliable electricity supply. It is clear now that load shedding continues to be part of the business models of the South African government, introduced with the sole purpose of creating a business environment for independent power producers. Load shedding in South Africa is nothing but a mechanism to create space for IPPs and to privatize the generation of electricity. Mkhonto weSizwe should continue to work continuously and relentlessly on the ground and in all the representative bodies to Mkhonto weSizwe should continuously work to expose the directionless of the so-called government of national unity. In doing so, the MK will demonstrate that we are a sound and superior alternative to the status quo. In doing so, Mkhonto weSizwe will pursue an alternate composition of government in South Africa at provincial and national level. In the province of KwaZulu-Natal, the MK will intentionally pursue the reconstitution of government to be led or to include Mkhonto weSizwe party as the leading and the most supported political party in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. The province of KwaZulu-Natal is confronted with multiple crises of misgovernance, failure to deliver water to many communities, collapsing infrastructure, undermining of royal and traditional leadership, the inability of the provincial government to timelessly provide the needed learning and teaching support materials to all schools. The provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal is also failing to protect host communities and amakhosi against exploitative corporations that are extracting wealth from beneath our soil and leaving no benefit for the host communities. The leadership of Mkhonto weSizwe has held meetings with the representatives and amakhosi of Richards Bay Minerals to discuss the various concerns that they are confronted with. We specifically met with the representatives of the Dube, Mkhwanazi, Sokulu, and Bonambi traditional councils. We have agreed on a way forward in terms of the concerns that they had brought to our attention. That one, the Richards Bay Minerals must reinstate and honor the agreement reached between amakhosi and the host communities with RBM, which is the Richards Bay Minerals, in 2009. That the Richards Bay Minerals must back pay the dividends due to the host communities and amakhosi, which were stopped in 2019. That the Richards Bay Minerals must back pay the CSI due to the Public Benefit Trust, which was stopped in 2019. That the Richards Bay Minerals must reinstate and honor the Principals Procurement Agreement, which was signed in 2019 and unilaterally nullified in 2020 by Richards Bay Minerals. That the Richards Bay Minerals must stop interfering with the community and public benefit trust. That the Richards Bay Minerals must stop using the state institution, in particular, the South African Police National Interventions Unit, to intimidate amakhosi and the host communities into submission. That we as Mkhonto weSizwe are going to pursue political, legal, parliamentary, and mass-based programs to make sure that the demands of the host communities of Richards Bay are benefiting from the mineral resources that are being extracted from beneath their soil. These are struggles of our people, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that in the ultimate end, our people benefit from the wealth of their communities. The Mkhonto weSizwe meeting of national officials that took place on the 19th of February unanimously affirmed that we have got one constitution and disciplinary code of conduct of Mkhonto weSizwe, which were adopted on the 26th of September 2024. These documents should be protected and defended by all leaders of the organization. Any attempt to cast aspersions and doubt on the constitution of Mkhonto weSizwe poses a real existential threat to the organization. The constitution of Mkhonto weSizwe says that Mkhonto weSizwe is a progressive total liberation movement fighting for the total political, economic, social, spatial, cultural, and knowledge or ideological freedom and emancipation. The core value of our struggle is the unity of all the progressive forces and demonstrable merit, excellence, and capacity of those who will be deployed to play different roles in the state and other institutions. At the center of our struggle is the instrumentality of unity of the progressive forces. While internal disagreements and different thoughts should be expressed internally, there is no space for any public disagreement, disharmony, and disrespect. Public disagreement, disharmony, and disrespect, or perceptions that such exist, will weaken the faith and confidence our people have in our organization. Our organization, Umkhonto weSizwe, must collectively resist the temptation of destructive conduct and behavior from amongst its cadres and members. We carry the obligation to defend our movement with everything we have because the forces of reaction wish we should have never existed at all. The enemy forces are outside and not inside Umkhonto weSizwe, and we should conduct thorough political education and guidance to demonstrate that the enemy forces is outside and not inside the movement. In line with enforcing discipline of the organization, the national officials, after receiving a report of the National Disciplinary Committee, resolved to expel or cancel the membership of 2 members of the organization. One of the members whose membership is cancelled used to serve as a deployee of Umkhonto weSizwe in the National Council of Provinces in Cape Town, and the other member was deployed in the Provincial Legislature of Mpumalanga Province. These 2 expulsions are a demonstration that we do not and will not tiptoe on matters that relate to internal discipline. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the people of South Africa, we take this opportunity here in Johannesburg, in Sandton, to announce that as part of our programs for 2025, the Umkhonto weSizwe will be hosting the inaugural President Jacob Zuma lecture that is going to be held here at the Sandton Convention Center on the 12th of April 2025. The 12th of April is the birth date of our President Jacob Zuma. The inaugural President Jacob Zuma lecture will be attended by dignitaries from many parts of the world and from the African continent. The inaugural President Jacob Zuma lecture will also be attended by guests representing royal houses, amakhosi and religious leaders, and business leaders who will contribute for the programs of the President, particularly in the education sector. We will, over the next few weeks, announce the name of the leader who will deliver the inaugural President Jacob Zuma lecture. The public lecture on President Jacob Zuma is an important lecture because we carry an obligation as Umkhonto weSizwe to contest the public narrative that his political life and contributions in society represent wasted years. Our president remains the most important asset in the life of our organization, and we carry a revolutionary obligation to defend his politics, ideas, and vision. Despite the many lies and propaganda spread on President Jacob Zuma, he is the most accomplished head of state and president in terms of increasing life expectancy of ordinary people, building infrastructure, and positioning of South Africa in the global space. Our president is a revolutionary and a true servant of the people, and our articulations and programs as an organization will demonstrate this undeniable fact. The national officials of Umkhonto weSizwe also took several decisions on the leadership question in relation to the National High Command and in relation to provinces as well. Provinces constitute an important component of the organizational structures and leadership in Umkhonto weSizwe. We should state that after we had announced the additional members into the National High Command of Umkhonto weSizwe, there was a legitimate and sensible outcry from people with disabilities on the non-inclusion of people with disabilities in the leadership structure, particularly the National High Command. We therefore announce, after resolution of the national officials, the appointment of Commander Dimakatso Litageng as a member of the National High Command. Commander Dimakatso Litageng is a seasoned activist for people with disabilities and has always been active in programs and activities of Umkhonto weSizwe. Now, in terms of provinces, the constitution of Umkhonto weSizwe, in terms of the deployment of National High Command members to provinces, the constitution of Umkhonto weSizwe says that each member of the National High Command will be allocated a specific responsibility as an individual or in a committee and deployed to a province or region where they will perform tasks and functions specified by the National High Command. In line with this constitutional clause and obligation, we have resolved to deploy the following National High Command members to different provinces. In the province of Eastern Cape, it's the National High Command deployees, not the leadership of the provinces. In the province of the Eastern Cape, the National High Command deployees will be led by Advocate Dalimpofu and also will include Lungele Madlungozi, will include Patrice Choku, will include Serame Name Mohale, the head of political education. In the province of Free State, the deployees of the National High Command will be led by General Daisy Chilwane and will include Julian Singwane, will include Commander Mabato Mokause, will include Commander Nomusa Cecilia Mpochane. In the province of Limpopo, the deployees of the National High Command will be led by Commander Ndumiso Matlala, will include Mweti Bila, will include Zibulwane Ligege and Matilda Radebe. In the Gauteng province, the convener of deployees of the National High Command will be Luda Libelo, will include Sindisiwe Mthembu, will include Dimakatso Litageng, will include Mandla Sidu. In the province of KwaZulu-Natal, the deployees of the National High Command will be led by Commander Gobizizwe Makanya, will include Commander Jabu Khoza, Dr. Skumbuzo Mkize, and Commander Fanuel Manano. In the province of Mpumalanga, the deployees of the National High Command will be led by Commander Sibusiso Hadebe, who is known as Comrade Lion Ibubesi, and then will include Commander Menzima Gubani, will include Abraham Monyela, will include Dumisele Ngumalo. In the Northern Cape, the deployees of the National High Command will be led by Dr. Sfiso Maseko, will include Commander Papitau, will include Commander Neville Motlabakwe, and will include Commander Kate Mabizela. In the Northwest Province, the deployees of the National High Command will be led by General Prince Mukotedi, will include will include Mr. Richard Sileke, and will include Commander Puseletso Skosana. The Western Cape Province, the convener of deployees will be Dr. Tantim Tanti, and then will include Irene Nomakule, and will also include Commander Daina Pule. The National High Command meeting that took place in November 2024 resolved that contrary to how we had constituted the committees of the National High Command, which previously were chaired by the national officials, were mandated as the national officials to recompose or reconstitute the national officials such that the national officials are not the chairpersons of the committees, so that they can function without the otherwise very busy members of the national officials. Now, the National Disciplinary Committee, as we had announced in the last press conference, is chaired by Advocate Dalimpofu. It includes Dr. Ndiboniswani Tuzumba. It includes General Nompumulelo Desi Chilwane. It includes Bongani Baloyi. It includes Commander Dynamo Tau, Commander Matilda Haradebe. The constitution of Mkondo Wesizwe says that there must be other members who are not in the National High Command who must form part of the National Disciplinary Committee. And these will be Mr. Mafika Sihlali, Ms. Brenda Waddle, Ms. Tina Mpumlwane, Advocate Mpati Xofali Bakeng, and Advocate Butsilo Mukwena. And in terms of the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal, the Deputy President, Dr. John Mandlakaise Hlophe, will chair the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals, and he continues to play the role of leading the legal matters of the organization. The Communications Subcommittee of Mkhonto Wesizwe will be chaired by Ludali Bello, will include Ngweti Grace Bila, Gobizizwe Makanya, Mabato Mokause, Lungelo Madlingozi, and Tlamulo Ndlela. The Safety and Security Committee of Mkhonto Wesizwe will be chaired by Comrade Lion Zibusiso Hadebe, will include Julian Singwane, Sindim Tembu, Fanuel Manana, Ndumiso Matlala, and Dana Mutawa. The Economic Transformation Subcommittee of Mkhonto Wesizwe will be chaired by Dr. Tantim Tanti, when will include Richard Sileke, Brian Mulife, Siyabonga Gama, Laki Muntana, Ngweti Bila, Adil Chabeling, and Tsepo Mahlangu. The Social Transformation Subcommittee of Mkhonto Wesizwe will be chaired by Dr. Sfiso Maseko, will include Jabulani Nzimande, Papi Tau, Mandla Sidu, Ndiboniswani Tujumba, Muzin Chingila, and Piki Vilagazi. The International Relations Subcommittee of Mkhonto Wesizwe is chaired by the Head of Presidency, Makasela Mzobe. It includes Commander Des van Rooyen, Kate Mabizela, Dr. Skumbuzo Mkize, Duduzile Zuma, Andile Mngutama, and Wesley Douglas. The Governance Subcommittee of Mkhonto Wesizwe is chaired by the Chief Whip, Mzwanele Mani, and will include the National Organizer, Commander John Ndlela. Will also include Irene Kruvile Namakule, Mabato Mokause, Leon Banjwa, Bongani Baloyi, Dzibulwani Ligege, Abraham Munyela, and all party leaders and chief whips of the provincial legislatures of Mkhonto Wesizwe. And then the Finance Subcommittee of Mkhonto Wesizwe is going to be chaired by Commander Brian Mulife, and it will include the Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, National Organizer, Tabsile Kumalo, the convener of the Women and Youth League, which are Ms. Nolutando Shozi and Teniso Tribane respectively, and then Ms. Nomu Sampochane, Richard Sileke, Prince Mukotedi, and all the provincial fundraisers. And in relation to issues that have to be attended to in all the provinces, in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we say that as officials that the province of KwaZulu-Natal should organize an induction workshop for all the appointed regional structures, and the national officials will approve the soon-to-be identified sub-regional leaders for all the 48 sub-regions, because we've got 44 municipalities in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but eThekwini is going to be subdivided into 4 sub-regions with its own sub-regional leadership as recommended by the regional detachment of eThekwini. Mpumalanga has had difficulties of parallel structures, and the national officials have resolved that all the national officials will visit the 3 regions of Mpumalanga to listen to the membership of Mkhonto Wesizwe, interact with the provincial detachment, and come out of the province with single leadership and affirmed leadership that has been appointed to say that this then becomes the program of action on how we collectively move forward. The era of fragmentation in Mpumalanga should and will come to an end. In Limpopo province, the national officials noted the objections that were lodged by the former interim leadership structures of Limpopo province and has resolved that we should send a delegation led by the national chairperson, which will include the national organizer and the head of presidency and the national high command deployees to Limpopo to go and listen to the objections that were lodged on the appointed leadership of Limpopo province. And that will be done as soon as possible. In relation to the Northern Cape, the Deputy Secretary General has been mandated to work with the National High Command deployees to the province of the Northern Cape to immediately start the process of consultations and recommend ultimately the leadership of Northern Cape. You will remember that in the previous press conference we had said we are not going to appoint the leadership of Northern Cape this year, but we think that now the material conditions have matured enough to could appoint and designate a leadership in the Northern Cape province. And in terms of Gauteng province, the national officials in the secretariat are in the process of processing the recommended additional members to the provincial detachment and the top 8 of all the regional detachments of the 5 regions of City being West Rand, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane, and will make an approval, conduct induction of all those that have been identified, and then make an announcement before the end of February 2025, which might be even as soon as tomorrow. In relation to the Northwest province, the national officials have resolved to appoint the top 8 of the Northwest province. The convener of the Northwest province, I will ask him to stand up. Everyone who is ready now will just stand up so that we can know. The convener of the Northwest province is Commander Alfred Mutsi. Is there. And then the deputy convener is Commander Tebuho Ramashilabela. He's wearing black. And then the coordinator is Commander Bosali Dwaba. And then the deputy coordinator is Commander Thabo Mbiko. The organizer is Commander Mpo Trekere Mutlakoleng. The deputy organizer is Commander Lerato Likabe at the back there. The fundraiser is Commander Mpo Babes Matuta. The deputy fundraiser is Commander Josia Big John Bele. And in relation to the province of the Free State, we have resolved to appoint the leadership of the Free State province. The convener is Commander Sandile Mabiza from the Joleput. And the deputy convener is Commander Simon Mitsing Mudise. And the coordinator is Commander Vusi Chabalala. The deputy coordinator is Commander Manana Sichoro. The provincial organizer is Commander Mapaseka Mutibi. The deputy organizer is Commander Banks Shabangu. And then the fundraiser is Comrade Commander Velem Sikekete. And then the deputy fundraiser is Dr. Ntabising Muchware at the back there. And we have identified one member of the additionals in relation to the Free State, who is Leslie Slepe. Now, in relation to Umkhonto weSizwe, inter-religious movement. So in Umkhonto weSizwe, there were 3 organizations which were organizing the interfaith community, church leaders or leaders from different religious communities, traditional healers. So in the past, we used to have 3 organizations. One was called the South African Interfaith Religious Council. The other one was called the MK Religious Desk. The other one was called MK Faith-Based Organizations. So after consistent deliberations and guidance from the national officials of Umkhonto weSizwe, the 3 organizations have now agreed to merge into one organization, which is called Umkhonto weSizwe Inter-Religious Movement, the MKIRM, Umkhonto weSizwe Interfaith Religious Movement. It is comprised of all religious leaders, traditional healers from different provinces, sub-regions. It's one of the most important sectors in the life of Umkhonto weSizwe. The leadership of Umkhonto weSizwe will be engaging with the MKIRM to identify the national leadership of Umkhonto weSizwe Interreligious Movement. There's already an identification of the date of the 2nd of March, which is a Sunday, to finalize the internal documents of Umkhonto weSizwe Interreligious Movement, Interfaith Religious Movement, to then finalize its internal documents and arrangements, and then we will guide in that meeting as to what becomes the approach to the leadership question. And in terms of the MK students movement, the national officials have mandated the MK Youth League leadership to identify students, activists who are full-time based in universities, universities of technology, and TVET colleges, and then constitute a national task team and provincial task teams that are going to lead the MK students movement. That task team will be tasked with developing the internal documents of Umkhonto weSizwe students movement, which will exclusively be organizing Umkhonto weSizwe supporters and members at post-secondary level education in terms of what is required. The Umkhonto weSizwe Women's League and Umkhonto weSizwe Youth League have presented base documents. The constitutions of both organizations are in place. But because the constitution of Umkhonto weSizwe says that these 2 leagues are relatively autonomous, we're going to give them an opportunity today to speak as to what are the immediate issues that they are dealing with. Now, in conclusion, Umkhonto weSizwe is entering and is in a very important and critical phase of its growth and development. The phase that the organization is in requires maximum discipline and composure from amongst its leaders and members. Members will always take tune from the leadership, and if we show signs of ill discipline and divisions, the membership will be ill-disciplined and divided. Umkhonto weSizwe is at the forefront of unifying Indlu Emnyama, and such will only happen when the whole of society and our people unite behind our movement. If we do not show any signs of unity, the organization will dwindle into insignificance. Thank you very much, Africa Mayabuya. Mandla. Thank you. Call the